Boys and girls, today we are going to talk about cells and tissues. I'm sorry that the camera screen isn't working for me today, so you're just going to see the picture of the book that I am reading, but you'll see me for our ELA lesson today anyway. So, before we begin today, you need to know that cells are the smallest units of living things, the body's building blocks. For example, our bodies are made up of billions of tiny microscopic cells. If something is microscopic, that is another vocabulary word we need to know. It means it is too small to be seen without the help of a microscope. So it means that you need a microscope to see it. We need to know the word functions, which are the roles, jobs, or purposes that support particular activities. For example, one of your heart's functions is to pump blood into the other parts of your body. We need to know the word stimulus, which is a thing or event that starts actions, feelings, and thoughts. A thing or event that stirs up specific reactions in organs and tissues. For example, the bee's stings acted as a stimulus, sending alarm signals through the nervous tissues to the brain. And then we need to know the word tissue, which is a group of cells that perform the same job in living organisms. So the purpose of today's read aloud is to listen carefully to find out the relationship between cells and tissues in the human body, as well as about the 4 different types of tissues in the human body. So we're going to talk about 4 different types of tissues today. Okay, today we're going to talk about cells. When you hear the word cell, what is the first thing that comes to your mind? It's probably a cell phone. Telephone companies divide cities, towns, and countrysides into lots of separate areas in order to provide the best service. Each area is called a cell. That's why mobile phones are called cell phones. They use signals from lots of different cells. What do you remember about the hives of honeybees? Their hives are made up of lots of different areas called cells, too. Different activities occur in each cell. Mickey. Another example that might help us understand cells would be a large multi. Hold on, sorry. Mickey, come here. Mickey. Okay, sorry. Another example that might help us understand cells would be a large multi-floor school building that has many classrooms. A teacher is in each classroom, similar to cells lined up one after the other inside beehives. The word cell describes one of the many small parts that form a much larger area. One classroom is like one cell of many cells or rooms in a school. Like a honeybee's cell is one of many cells in a hive. Because you're learning about the human body, you may have guessed that we're not going to be talking about cell phones or honeybees today. Instead, we will focus on the human body cells. These cells were a mystery to people for thousands of years. No one even knew they existed. The invention of the microscope changed all of that. Microscopes magnify cells, making them big enough for the human eye to see. Last time, I mentioned a man whose book of microscopic organisms or living things influenced the work of Anton van Leeuwenhoek. Here we have a view of Hooke's cork cell. The man was an Englishman named Robert Hooke. In one of Hooke's first experiments with a microscope, he sliced open the stem of a cork plant and placed it under his lens. What he saw amazed him. The cork was made up of tiny walled spaces. These little boxes reminded him of the cells in a honeycomb. Hooke was the first to use the term cell to describe what he saw through the microscope. We still use the word cell today when referring to these tiny little boxes of which all living things, both plants and animals, are made. And here we have a picture of a giraffe with an oxpecker on him. See him right there? All living things, no matter how big or how small, are made up of microscopic units called cells. Cells are the body's building blocks, the smallest units of life that can carry out the functions of living things. They are so small that they cannot be seen without the aid of a microscope. That is why we call them microscopic. The bacteria that Anton van Leeuwenhoek discovered are one-celled organisms, but most living things on Earth have more than one cell. In fact, some have billions of cells. You are one of those creatures. You have millions and billions, maybe even trillions of cells. So we are made up of millions, billions, maybe even trillions of cells. Here is a picture of cell division. So here's a cell and it's being divided. You began life as a single cell formed by the joining of two cells, one cell from your mother and one cell from your father. Your parents' two cells merged and became one joint cell called a fertilized egg. Then that one cell divided into two cells that divided into two more. The cells divided again and again until pretty soon there were billions of cells. Your whole body is made up of these tiny building blocks. So we have bone, skin, and muscle cells. Bone, skin, and muscle cells. The human body is a collection of more than 200 different types of cells. Cells come in all shapes and sizes, depending upon the jobs that they must perform. Bone cells build up bone, skin cells build up skin, and muscle cells build your muscles. The shape of a cell usually reflects the role it plays in the day-to-day working of the human body. For example, red blood cells are shaped somewhat like shallow bowls, just like bowls that can be used to hold things like cereal, milk, or ice cream. And bowl-shaped red blood cells hold and carry nutrients through your blood. Okay. Here is a picture of a nerve cell. Nerve cells have really long tails to send and receive messages quickly. See all the little branches on the nerve cell? See them right there? All those little branches? Cells are like tiny chemical factories because they are living organisms. They need nutrients and air to stay alive. Your heart pumps blood to cells throughout your body, carrying food and oxygen to each cell. Your cell uses the nutrients to form the muscles, nerves, skin, and bone, and to help protect your body from disease. Living things do not last forever. Body cells have limited lives. Some cells get damaged when you get hurt. Others wear out over time. As cells die, the dead cells are replaced with new cells on a daily basis. Isn't that amazing? So your cells eventually die, like skin cells, and we're going to talk about those a little bit next. So here is a microscopic section of the skin. It's up close, looking with a microscope. Let's look closely at a microscopic section of the skin. Skin cells are packed tightly together to form the protective boundary between you and your environment. Do you see the layers of cells stacked on top of one another? The old dead cells flake off and form a protective layer for the new cells that are constantly growing beneath. They grow, split, and make new cells and die. Some cells live only for a few days. Others live for years. So I like to tell the kids in the classroom that, in the winter when you scratch your arm and you have dry skin, you see like those white flakes flake off. That's dead skin cells that's coming off your body because new cells are forming. Same thing in the summertime when you get sunburn and your skin peels off. That is dead skin cells. Cells work together. They are organized into groups of cells that all perform the same function. These groups of cells are called tissue. Tissue is a collection of the same kinds of cells working together to do the same job. There are four main types of tissue, and each type serves a different function. The four types of tissue are connective, muscle, nervous, and epithelial. Here we have the skeleton and the circulatory system. What do you think connective tissue does? It connects. That's what it does. It connects. Connective tissue supports the body and binds other tissues together like glue. Your skeleton is made up of bone, a connective tissue that provides the structure or framework for your body. It contains cells that makes the tissue strong and flexible. Fat is a connective tissue, padding your body and supplying it with energy. You may be surprised to learn that blood is also a connective tissue. But think about it. The liquid tissue flows throughout your entire body and connects all of its main parts. Here we have muscle tissue. Muscle tissue helps your body move. It is the softest and most abundant tissue in your body. There are different kinds of muscle tissue. Your stomach walls are lined with smooth muscle tissue that helps digest your food. You would not be alive without cardiac muscle tissue. What does the cardiac muscle do? It is found only in your heart, and its job is to pump your blood. Skeletal muscle tissue moves your bones. The long, thin strands of muscle tissue stretch and shrink in response to messages from your brain. As they shorten, they move the parts of your body. So connective tissue connects, and muscle tissue moves your body parts. And that makes sense because we know that the word connect means connect, and we know that without muscles in our body, we wouldn't be able to move. So here we have nervous tissue. The third type of body tissue is the nervous tissue. Maybe you can figure out what it does based on its name. What does it do? Nervous tissue runs through your body and connects to your brain. Nervous tissue serves as the messengers between your brain and your body. Nerve cells within the nervous tissue senses a stimulus and carries electrical signals to and from the brain. Nervous tissue acts as the body's most important communication system. For example, one example of how nervous tissue works would be when you touch something that is so hot you would burn yourself. Your nervous tissue receives the stimulus of extreme heat. The message is sent to your brain, and your brain sends a message back to the nervous tissue to tell your muscle tissue to pull your hand away from the hot stimulus. This happens almost automatically without you having to think about it. So that's with anything. If you touch anything that would be hot or maybe prickly, your natural reaction is to pull back because it hurts. And that's because of the nervous tissue sending that message to your brain, and then your brain sending a message back saying, ouch, pull away. So it's really pretty cool. Here we have bacteria repelled by epithelial tissue. What on earth do you think epithelial tissue does? Can you even pronounce that word? Try it. Epithelial. What a big word for tissue that covers and protects. Sheets of cells packed closely together make up epithelial tissue. Does this picture look familiar? Remember, those are the skin cells that form the outer layer of your skin. You're looking at the epithelial tissue that prevents bacteria from entering your body. This thin, tough covering protects your body and its organs. Epithelial tissue is also found inside your body. It forms barriers to protect the inside of your mouth, nose, throat, and stomach. So it's like the protective tissue. It protects germs and bacteria from getting in. Cells, tissues, Everything you do from breathing to eating to running requires lots of working cells. They are truly the building blocks of your body. Cells are organized into tissues, grouped by the similar jobs that they do. Tissues are organized into groups that work together to do similar jobs as well. You will learn all about these groups of tissues the next time we're together. Okay, so that is it for the read aloud today. When we come back next week, we will start to learn about organs, organs within our body. So if you could just tell me one thing that you learned about during today's read aloud. Thanks, guys.